is Channel 4, gearing up for more action on two wheels.
Malcolm Elliott lost his leader's yellow jersey yesterday. Out of the mist and the rain en route to Glasgow, an Irishman emerged at the front of the pack. Martin Early, aided and abetted by his countryman and PDM teammate Sean Kelly. Early jumped the favourites on the circuit finish, taking 19 seconds out of Elliott and the yellow jersey with it. His lead in the general classification, 11 seconds. So, is it a straight chase between the two to Westminster?
I wouldn't think so. I think it's still very, very open. There's still 35 riders there that are within 2 minutes, and anything could happen between now and Westminster.
The day started at 7:45 with a train transfer from Glasgow to Manchester. There's our race leader, Martin Early, briefing himself on today's stage. And the new World Pursuit champion, Colin Sturgis. It's great to have him in this race. And the birthday boy, Rob Holden, 22 today, the cake courtesy of the tour director, Alan Rushton. 12:15 it was when the Intercity Tour Special pulled into Manchester's Piccadilly station. Time for a quick change of clothes before signing on for the day. The Aussie Phil Anderson didn't mind a few more signatures. Always eager to please, always smiling. 1 o'clock now, and we're off from the station, on time as well. And the weather rather kinder to us today than yesterday. Good day's racing ahead of us. The stage 72 miles between the two footballing cities of Liverpool and Manchester, taking in Bury, Bolton and Leigh en route. Through the streets of Manchester, a city with great cycling traditions, of course. That's the imposing Central Library. Nice and relaxed to start with. The riders just stretching their legs after the efforts through the Scottish Highlands yesterday. The surprises ahead of us as we head out through the outskirts of Manchester. The first sign of a breakaway today came when Dick Decker of the Patanina team tried his luck. Decker 43rd on the general classification this morning and more than 4 minutes down on the leaders, so the main bunch not too concerned at this stage, but Decker nicely into his rhythm and building a lead of some 17 seconds in the early stages of the race. So the riders back on the road again. We're at the top of the only significant climb on the route today, the Ramsbottom Rake in the Lancashire moors to the north of Manchester. It's a second category climb, King of the Mountain points available here. That's a competition currently led by Sean Kelly. Nick Barnes is in second place. If there is going to be a move today, it could very well come here. If there's a break and one or two of the leading riders miss it, well, there's very little time, 30 miles or so, that's all, to try and make that back up between here and the circuit finish in Liverpool. A quick word about one or two of the pre-race favourites, Joey McLaughlin in particular. Joey virtually ran himself out of the race yesterday. He finished more than 19 minutes down on our winner, Martin Early, but he might just fancy his chances of a stage win in front of his hometown fans in Liverpool. Well, the riders are very nearly with us. Let's join up with our commentary team, Paul Sherwin and Phil Liggett. Phil, what's happening?
Well, this is the Belgian rider, Dick Decker, who lost over 3 minutes yesterday in the rain at Glasgow, and now he leads by just 36 seconds. It's a long ride, Paul, but maybe he could be the carrot today.
Well, he lost a little bit of time yesterday, and obviously he'd like to move away, but you can see, looking down at the bunch there, it's in a long line, so the chase is definitely on at the moment. Riders going away all the time.
Well, the big field has been at full speed ever since we left Manchester Piccadilly station today. Lots of action. The riders already running something like 7 minutes ahead of the best time schedule we thought they would do today. So Martin Early really is in the hot seat in the yellow jersey. Plenty of movement in this bunch here. And Decker is the man who's hanging out in front. Everybody a little bit worried about the climb of Ramsbottom Rake because it's extremely narrow. And it looks as though Decker might well be first to it. He's going very, very quickly here. It was his teammate Marco van der Hulst who was in the lead yesterday, you may recall, along with Nick Barnes. They were heading the field for almost 40 miles.
Well, the field slowing down a little bit as they get to the climb. All the riders a little bit worried about this climb that we're going to go up today. Nobody really knows what it's like. No one's been in this part of the country before, and you can see them taking it easy, trying to tee themselves up. As we go back to Decker in the front, he'll be thinking about the climb. Maybe if he can get over the climb in first place, he'll get away and stay away.
Well, there's the red spot indicating the start of Ramsbottom Rake. The blue flag you may have seen is the start of the climb, which tells the riders they're about to go uphill. Decker is ahead of the riders, but his lead is coming down. As normally happens on these big stage races, as soon as the riders see the climb, they start to open up the attacks. Decker there pointing as if to say, are you sure that's the way? It is a very difficult climb, this, Paul, isn't it?
Well, it is a bit of a sting in the tail because it starts off quite steadily, and as you get up it gets steeper and steeper, and there really is. As you look in the back, we can already see the riders coming back on him, but it's always impressive on a climb like this. It looks as if the bunch is very close, and it still could be 15-20 seconds, so if Decker can get over this climb, he may well stay away.
But it's just about here where the climb starts to bite. It's very steep at this stage. We've had reports that on the top of the climb, the crowds are simply enormous. And there's the main field, already starting now to string out. First test, Paul, for Martin Early.
Well, it will, because Martin was very prominent on the climbs yesterday, obviously helped a lot by Kelly. It looks as if Decker at the front here is really struggling to get his gears. This is the steepest part of the climb, and he really is having a job to get the gears over the top.
Well, this is Decker, and there's the bunch just behind, coming round the corner. They're reeling him in quite quickly. He seemed to make a bad gear change there, and he couldn't have chosen the worst time to do it. He's found the bottom gear now, and he's pedalling quite comfortably. He's resigned, I think, to being caught by the field. And there they come, and they're charging up this hill. Our helicopter levels it out a little bit, but believe me, we're climbing up to the high spot of this year's Kellogg's Tour of Britain, and the whole field are chasing down Dick Decker, and they've just about caught him. So it's Paul Curran on the left behind the police outrider there in that green jersey, who's coming back up to the front. Paul Curran enjoying his Tour of Britain, that's for sure. He wears the points leaders jersey at the moment, and Sean Kelly is in the white King of the Mountains jersey alongside him as well. Phil Anderson too, also climbing extremely well in second place here. Well, there's the crowd we were telling you about that line the slopes here, and now the pressure has gone on by Phil Anderson, winner this year of the Tour of Romandy in Switzerland, but he hasn't in fact had a win since the Tour of Italy in June.
Anderson looking very strong there on the climb. He actually at the moment is taking a course of antibiotics for a chest infection, and he's hoping to get some form as he comes through this tour, but the strength of him there, you can almost see the power that this rider has got.
And just look at the way Anderson is climbing this steep part of the hill now. The crowd waited here for an hour and a half or more to get the best viewing position. Look at the back of the race. It's all fine for the stars at the front, but these riders at the back have it all to do. Anderson now still leading Sean Kelly. The yellow jersey of overall leader Martin Early follows his faithful team leader Sean Kelly. 200 meters to go. Kelly looks over his shoulder. There's Anderson, comes for the points on the top. And it looks to me as though Kelly may have pipped Anderson right on the line to gain maximum points in the King of the Mountains. And so he did. Anderson was second, Early third, Guido Winterberg fourth, Brian Walton of Canada there fifth. This is the overall situation then. Kelly keeps his white jersey. Early is second with 37, and Nick Barnes there for Great Britain PMS. He remains in third place. But while the leaders go over the top of the climb, the back of the field are still on the way up. And the PDM teammate, or rather the TVM teammate at the back of the field of Phil Anderson, probably regretting the pace being set there by his team leader.
Also the back there, Phil, number 67 is Thomas Wegmuller, who had a very good ride in the World Championships.
And Sean Kelly looking rather cool and collected as they start the descents now down towards Bolton. Sean Kelly has looked particularly good so far in this race. So too, it has to be said, has Phil Anderson. Anderson enjoying his first appearance in the Tour of Britain. And the face of the overall leader by just a few seconds, Martin Early. It's only the second time in his career he's worn the race leader's yellow jersey of a major race. And the whole field now making the way into Bolton. And this is Bolton itself now, because this is the TV time sprint today, and it's Keith Reynolds in the white who's leading out the action. And it's Chris Walker who challenges him on the left-hand side. Walker, in fact, gets third. Paul Brown, rather, it was, who split the two of them. So that was the first glimpse of the TV time sprint. There's two more of those to come at the finishing line today. Henri Manders here from the Helvetia team, receiving a little bit of service on the move. This is all allowed, of course.
But while that was happening at the back, this is what's happening at the front field. Chris Young has just moved clear with Serge Demier from the Helvetia La Suisse team.
Well, Young has been a professional only since this race started, and he's now being followed by one of the most experienced professionals in the world, a pro for 10 years. And Martin Early has come up, the yellow jersey himself, and has joined the two leaders. And I'm a little bit surprised, Paul, to see that the field has allowed Early his head. Look at this, 20 seconds.
Well, I think really Martin's just come here to nullify this event. I don't think he wants to go in a move so early. You can see the field just behind there. Obviously, Martin, at the moment, not working in this breakaway, doesn't want it to go very far. Serge Demier did, in fact, win the stage to Liverpool last year.
It's almost as if it's two experienced professional cyclists here trying to put down Chris Young.
Well, that may be the case. As we go back to the chasers, the Toshiba team are chasing here with another PDM rider in close attention.
So, the strong PDM team, they're the two other riders here, trying to keep the race together, because they know as long as they can keep this race together with the likes of Kelly and Early, then they can carry on leading this race all the way to Westminster if they get the way. There's Serge Demier. He was the winner, by the way, in Liverpool last year, and he's having a little chat with Martin Early, pointing at Young, just 10 seconds the gap.
Well, neither Demier or Martin Early are contributing to this breakaway at all. Young's obviously taken advantage of a slow part of the race, and he's broken away, and these two riders don't want to contribute anything to this breakaway.
It's almost as if they've gone up here as the policemen, and they're just waiting for poor old Chris Young to get tired, and then all three will return to the comfort of the big field, which is almost up with them anyway. There's Martin Early. It looks as though it's no effort at all, doesn't it? And here comes the field, led by the Toshiba team, who are leading this race in the team section. There it is, it's all over. The two Toshiba boys have brought the race back together again, and without very little trouble. Pascal Lance, who rode so well in the opening prologue time trial, and still remains well in contention overall. So the whole field are back together again now. They also seem to have found a little bit of sanity in the main pack here, because the speed has dropped down just a shade. They have, of course, the long ride down the East Lancashire Road into Liverpool city centre, and then the final 19 miles of the race is around the city centre, 10 circuits in fact, and it looks now as though that is where the race will be decided today. Serge Demier, the winner a year ago. Who will it be this time? Join us after the break. And welcome back as the whole field in the Tour of Britain stream into the centre of Liverpool. The riders now facing 10 circuits, the final 19 miles of today's 72 miles, and it looks as though Colin Sturgis, Paul, has got itchy feet.
Well, he's obviously, since he won his world title, he wants to show himself off to the British crowd, and he's got a little gap opening up here as we come up through the finishing line.
So Colin Sturgis, the new world 5,000 metres pursuit champion, now proving the sort of speed necessary to win that world title. Sturgis goes away, and the field for the moment giving him a little bit of leeway.
Well, as Sturgis moves away here, the crowd, the bunch actually sitting up a little bit, looking at each other, waiting for somebody to start the chase. All the lime green jerseys on the front there are his teammates trying to slow them down.
Won the white hat there with lime green, that's Frank Hoster, former points winner in the Tour de France. And he certainly could be a candidate today, but right now his job is to try and stop the field catching Colin Sturgis. But there's Janus Koom here on the nearest camera, and it looks to me as though, in fact, they are going to pick up Sturgis, because there he is. They've gone straight by him. And so Sturgis swept away, because they're not going to give too much away now they're in the streets of Liverpool. Coming up William Brown Street here towards the line again. This is the circuit of 1.9 miles. It's Janus Koom now in the lead.
Well, Koom leading up here with Chris Walker from Raleigh in second place there. In third place is Mark Walsham. 8 laps to go as they come up to the line this time.
So it's Janus Koom who brings the race through. Walker in second place, Mark Walsham, who would be a very likely winner of the stage today in a mass sprint finish. He's a tremendous sprint finisher. He's certainly on form. Just before this race began, he had 2 very good stages on the Tour of Limousin in France.
Well, Herman Frison here looking round to see if anybody's going to come away with him. And Jonas Koum again up in the action, maybe trying to keep this move covered for the sprinters like Frank Hoster from his own team.
So Koum and Frison, 2 Tour de France riders, and in fact Frison a stage winner a couple of years ago. But look down below now, somebody else is going from the centre of the pack. It's going to be this sort of pattern now as riders try to break the attention of the bunch. This in fact looks like Keith Reynolds going clear. The man has had so many second places this year, we've lost count, but he dearly would now like to land a big victory. So Reynolds on the attack.
Well, Keith Reynolds from his second place in the milk race here, trying to get away. In fact, he was away on this stage of the Tour of Britain last year, and on the front of the bunch there is Sean Kelly in person, chasing him down.
Kelly, in fact, has driven this bunch along ever since we've reached Liverpool. He's always tried to drag the race back into contention. As we go out now with 7 circuits left to go. There's Kelly on the front, Robert Miller in second place, and it's Phil Anderson, the rider, in third place in the line of riders. And just look at this now. Reynolds is not going to get away. Sean Kelly relentlessly pursuing him. What a fabulous turn of speed Kelly has. He seems to me, Paul, as though Kelly has one ambition here, and that's to bring this race back together for his own teammate Martin Early.
Well, all he's thinking about at the moment is Martin Early. As you can see, the Liver building's just in the bottom there. Kelly is trying to bring the race together for Martin Early, who's done so much in the past for Sean. He went to ride with Sean Kelly in the CAS team and then came to the PDM team with him, and maybe Sean's trying to pay back some debts.
This is Paul Curran in the green jersey. He'll need a good finish today if he's going to keep that lead. The best rider on points. There's Robert Miller too. Didn't have a great time in Glasgow, but then in all fairness the weather was so bad, I'm quite sure he didn't feel too enthusiastic. Now there's the head of the field. Just look at the speed he's going there over the ground. Tremendous speed. Riders already tailing off the back of this field. And the pace has never slowed down at all. It looks like Jacques Hanegraaff has got to the front of the group now. There's Hanegraaff, and Miller keeping that second place.
Well, Miller in second place there, and there also at the front of the bunch was Malcolm Elliott, trying to maybe slip away towards the end of this race because he'd like to gain that yellow jersey back again. Hanegraaff putting a lot of effort in as they come up through the finish line again.
This is a finish that Malcolm certainly knows. He's battled it out here with Joey McLaughlin. Serge Demier was the winner alone last year on this finish. He, of course, featured in that early break today, but he was picked up. So the klaxon you may have heard there was the TV time sprint lap. So this time around the first 3 riders score the points, and the leader in that competition at the moment is Nick Barnes. Phil Anderson now leading the charge down by the back of the flyover as they go round towards the line. Anderson looking full of fight today.
Well, for a man who started the Tour of Britain and said he wasn't very well and taking antibiotics, he looks very strong at the moment.
You can never trust them, can you, Paul? Past Vauxhall Road, as the field swing in now, they go to the right, then they swing to the left, then they'll see the finishing line, but of course it's not the final finish this time, it is the TV time special sprint. First 3 riders over the line score the points. On the far right, that's Mark Walsham, who's unleashing a fine turn of speed here. Walsham gets it, and I think the points he's gained there will be enough to give him the overall lead in that competition. And in fact, Mark Walsham was the winner last year. There he is, Walsham 5 points, Van der Hulst is second, and Phil Anderson snicked third place.
And all the time in the front there is Sean Kelly, shadowed quite often by Paul Curran, who's made a fantastic change from the amateur ranks to the professional ranks. Took him 4 or 5 months, but since then, Paul's gone from strength to strength.
If Paul sees his chance in the next 2 days, which are a bit hilly, he will actually take his stage win. Of that I'm quite convinced. Watching the field go through, and we've got a small group trying to get away again. The riders at the back are going to have a hard struggle now to come through. And this is Michael Wilson, and he's doing what is a very typical move here.
Well, this is one of Michael Wilson's favourite moves towards the end of a race, to try and jump away, get 100 or 200 metres clear, and he's always seems to be able to just keep hold of it, but it's not going to work today because there he's been caught.
Oh, they're all over him. Long line. There's so many teams want victory here today. It's so important to them. And Kelly, again, is the rider who's stirring it up. This massive man who rides for the PDM team, 9th in the Tour de France this year, and so close to his first World Championship. just over a week ago. He was third, but the width of his tyre. And it's something which he hasn't really got over yet, but here they come round again. Kelly is the driving force. Anderson is up there, not too far behind in the centre of the field. You can see Martin Early. He's hoping for this race simply to run out of time now, because if nobody escapes, they'll be given the same time. That will suit him down to the ground. He'll keep his overall lead, which at the moment is 11 seconds, but again, it's Wilson going again.
Well, with one lap to go, it's still Michael Wilson having another go, and there is Patrick Denut from the Lotto team trying to get across to him, but Kelly on the front all the time, doing as much as he can for Martin Early, maybe taking the revenge out on his own body for losing that world title.
Well, Sean Kelly, this one's hurting Kelly, but he's trying to drag the field across. To me, he's throwing away all chance of a stage win, and he's doing it to try and keep this race together for Martin Early. And Anderson's gone. Anderson's come from midway down the pack. This is the sort of effort that Anderson is renowned for throughout the world. He goes near the end. Now Anderson has gone. Looking down, we can see the field are almost onto them, but somebody has gone as well. So we've got Anderson in the lead, and it looks to me as though Remy Stumpf has also gone from that pack.
Well, there's Phil Anderson looking over his shoulder all the time. This is the kind of move that can lose him a little bit of energy, lose him a little bit of speed, and it looks as if Stumpf has actually come up to Anderson like he did yesterday, straight out of the bunch and onto Phil Anderson.
So Stumpf in the blue jersey, the rider who won yesterday, is now bringing Anderson round towards the finish. Anderson's got his wheel, that's the place to be. Remy Stumpf is a great sprinter, but Anderson's got the chance. He's taken the extra air, he's come off Remig's wheel. Remig, once you look over your shoulder, you've lost the stage. Phil Anderson gets it. Stumpf is in second place, but first in Glasgow, now second here in Liverpool. You can't complain at that. Tremendous sprint though by Phil Anderson. He hasn't won a stage since he won a stage in the Tour of Italy in June, and now he's done it. So that was a great ride for Phil Anderson, the Australian. We always claim him a little bit of English about him because he was born in London, and this is how he did it. So Phil Anderson throws his arms up in the air, and now we can get confirmation. Anderson the winner, Stumpf in second place, Brian Walton of Canada gets third, Mark Walsham fourth. He brings the rest home at 4 seconds.
Phil, now then that puts you right back into contention. Have you got your sights set on the Tour win?
Yeah, well, you know, my condition hasn't been so good, you know, since the Tour de France, and I feel I'm coming back slowly but surely, and, you know, if I could win here, it'd definitely give me a bit of confidence for the rest of the season, you know, because I'm really thinking about retiring a little early this year, just because of the way that I've been going recently, and to take a longer rest this year. But still, you know, if I can win here, it's very important for me and my team, and I'll be doing what I can.
Let's just get that straight, retiring a little early this year.
This year, exactly, yeah. I may look a little ragged, but still got a few years left of me yet.
Phil, great win. Thanks very much.
Thanks very much.
Great one, Phil. Well, you can see the crowd, this enormous crowd that was here, but Martin Early keeps his yellow jersey. He's lost a couple of seconds because Remy Stumpf has pulled back 4. He's at 8 seconds. Malcolm Elliott is still third at 11 seconds. Soren Lilholt fourth at 14. There we are.
Tremendous stage. Phil Anderson treating us to a grandstand finish. Liverpool here, rewarded for turning out quite literally in their thousands. We start tomorrow at the walled city of Chester, 100 miles south to Birmingham, the halfway stage on the 89 Kellogg's Tour. Some glorious countryside in between too. We'll be back on Channel 4 at the same time. I hope you can join us. Bye-bye now.